Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here to talk about some books I hope to read for Historathon. So you guys might have already seen that I already have way too many books I'm trying to read in February, but if you're seeing this, it means that I'm doing really well and that I'm gonna add some more. Historical fiction is one of my favorite genres, and I can't believe there wasn't a readathon about it before, so I'm pretty excited about this. It is created and hosted by Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand and Amanda from The Curly Reader. I will link both of their channels down below, and it goes through the whole month of February. If I maybe don't get to as many of my other February TBR books as I was hoping, I'm probably just going to continue reading these into the next few months because I am really looking forward to getting to all of these. And I almost always push readathons past the time you're supposed to read them because I think it's about having fun and reading books. It's not necessarily about you have to read them in this exact moment in time or it doesn't count. All of the prompts are on the bingo board, so let's get into the books I hope to read. The first prompt is to read a book that has a male on the cover. And the one I'm going to read is The Nonesuch by Georgette. I've talked before, I really enjoy Georgette books. Even the ones that I don't completely love, they're always just kind of cozy for me. And it's been kind of a while since I've read one of hers, so I'm really looking forward to this. I don't remember the exact premise of this one, but she just writes really wonderful comedy of manners that have kind of a romance element, and I remember when I was in the bookstore, the premise of this one sounded interesting. The next prompt is to read a book set before 1900, and for that one I have The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee. This is an ARC, but I believe this book came out near the end of last year, and because this is an older ARC, I might try and get a copy from the library so that I'm reading the final version rather than the ARC edition. I did not specifically receive this for review, so I don't feel quite as bad that I haven't gotten to it yet, but I do really want to get to this one. It's about our main character who, I think she works for a newspaper, and she kind of starts writing this advice column, and then basically her answers start stirring up trouble because they're talking about racism and class and and basically things that people don't want her to talk about. And I believe this is on Voices for the Chinese Rap, and I think this takes place in the 1890s, so just barely before 1900. And I think it's set in Atlanta, so I am really interested to read this one. I haven't heard a ton of people talk about it, but little I have heard has been very positive, so I can't wait to get to that. The next prompt is Dual Timelines, and this one actually took me a little bit because I'm actually not really a fan of dual timeline stories in general, but one that I have been wanting to get to is Revolution by Jennifer Donnelly. Jennifer Donnelly wrote Stepsister, which I really enjoyed. That was kind of an interesting experience because I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but I ended up really liking that book, so I'm very interested in reading some of her other novels. And this one, I do know it is dual timeline, but I don't know a lot about it besides that. I've just heard that this book is really complex and really surprising in the way that these stories connect. I think one of our main characters, she's visiting present-day Paris, and she finds a centuries-old diary. And I assume that the other timeline is going to be about the person who wrote that diary. And it sounds like from the synopsis that the modern-day character might end up going back in time to Paris. Maybe? I don't know. That's the impression I get from this one, but this is one I don't really want to know too much about anyway. I mean, that's just how I like to go into books in general, but especially kind of a premise like this that's supposed to be very surprising and intricate, I kind of don't want to know what to expect. Next is to read a book set in a country outside the United States or Europe, and I've chosen The Wolf Princess by Katherine Constable. This is set in Russia, and Russia is not really in Europe. There's a lot of discussion over what exactly Russia, the continent Russia, belongs to, because it's between Europe and Asia, but I think that Amanda is reading one set in Russia, so I'm gonna say that it counts, because one of the hosts said it counts. I think this is about a young girl who kind of gets swept away by this wealthy princess. She gets taken to her beautiful palace and everything is great, life is good, and then I think she starts getting suspicious about something that is actually going on there. So it sounds like it's going to be a little bit creepy, but I'm interested. And I'm also using this for the prompt of a book with a child main character. Another one of the prompts is to read the group book, which is The Fountains of Silence by Rita Sepetys. I actually won't be reading that one because for my TBR, I tried to pick books that were on my own TBR or that I currently had out from the library, and that doesn't fit into either of those categories. But I am going to take this opportunity to read a different book that is set in historical Spain, and that is Incantation by Alice Hoffman. This is actually one of the books from my Goodreads Friends Choose My TBR. My friend Priscilla actually chose this one for me to read, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. And Alice Hoffman is a historical fiction author who is very well loved. I've heard a lot of great things about her, and I still haven't read one of her books, so I am really interested to read this one. The only thing I really know about it is that it is set in Spain. The next prompt is to read a book that is about a time or event that you are unfamiliar with, and I have Among the Red Stars by Gwen C. Katz. I'm gonna say this one still counts because it's not a group or an event that I've ever read a book about, although I did know a little bit, I did hear a little bit about this before picking this book up because that was actually why I was interested in this book, but I know very few details about it, and that is this group of air women that were all Russian, I believe, and the Nazis called them the Night Witches because they were so unbeatable, and that just sounds amazing. So I really want to get to this. I think we're following one of the Night Witches, and I am just really interested to read about this part of World War II that I haven't actually heard a lot about before. And I've also heard there's some really great friendships in this book as well. So I'm very much looking forward to that. The next prompt is to read a book that has a real historical person in it. And for that one, I have Becoming Mrs. Lewis by, let me check the author, by Patty Callahan. I currently have this one out from my library, and C.S. Lewis is a real person from history. He's obviously a writer that is very well known. And I'm a little nervous about this one because overall this book has glowing reviews. It's about, it's based on the real story of Joy Davidman, who ended up becoming C.S. Lewis's wife, and how they started their relationship through letters and basically how they ended up together. And I've seen mostly very good reviews for this one, but I have seen a couple that were not as positive, and the things that they said are things that probably will bother me if I feel the same. So I'm a little nervous about this one, but this one is also on my TBR maybe shelf, which I talked about in my reading goals for 2020, that I really want to get that shelf down to 50 or below. So I'm going to start trying to read some of those books on that list, and we'll see. I'm like tentatively excited about this one, but I really love C.S. Lewis, so I think, I don't know, I feel like if the author doesn't do a good job, or what I consider a good job, I probably will be really bothered by this book, but let's hope it goes well. And then finally, the last challenge is to read a book with a location in the title. For that one, I have another book that is currently out from my library, and that is Queen of the Sea by Dylan McConis. This is a graphic novel that I think is like 400 pages. It's like one of the longest graphic novels I've heard about, although granted, I haven't read very many. And I don't remember which time period this is set in, but the art looks lovely, and I think it's about a young girl who meets, does she like meet Queen Elizabeth or something? Like she lives on this rocky island, and it's about her childhood there, and then about how she gets mixed up with this royal, like all of this royal politics stuff, basically. So that one sounds really wonderful, and again, the art just looks so pretty. So those are all of the books that I'm hoping to get to for Historathon. Please let me know if you guys are participating. I love historical fiction, and I'm so glad there's finally a readathon about it. As I said, I already have way too many books on my February TBR. That's okay. It's good to be ambitious sometimes. And like I said, if I don't get to all of these, I probably will just like continue reading them after the readathon is officially over, especially because a lot of these are ones that I've been meaning to get to for so long. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!